There's a silent pain only intelligent men understand. It's not loud, not dramatic, it's quiet. It's the pain of seeing too clearly, the pain of loving and watching that love dissolve under the weight of understanding. At first, intelligence seems like a gift. It gives a man insight, control, perspective. He can see beyond emotion, predict outcomes, protect himself. But as Kierkegaard warned, the very mind that saves him from suffering also isolates him from connection. The deeper he thinks, the more distance he creates between what he understands and what others feel. In the beginning, love feels effortless. A woman enters his life like music, and for a while her presence softens his mind. He feels warmth, tenderness, emotion that logic cannot explain. He allows himself to believe that maybe, this time, feeling can live alongside awareness. But intelligence is relentless. It never sleeps. Even in love, it keeps analyzing, decoding, observing. He starts to notice the patterns, how affection shifts with attention, how admiration fades into familiarity, how people fall in love with ideas, not with reality. He doesn't want to see it, but he can't unsee it. Every moment, every word, every gesture, he reads its subtext. And that gift of perception slowly becomes his curse. Kierkegaard called this the despair of reflection, a state where the thinking man cannot stop examining the very thing that gives him meaning. He doesn't simply love, he studies his love. He doesn't simply feel, he questions why he feels. And in doing so, he kills the innocence that emotion requires. The woman feels this shift long before he admits it. His eyes become quieter, his touch more careful, his silence heavier. What once felt like passion now feels like distance. She starts to sense that he's no longer in the moment. He's watching it from above. And she's right, because he is. For the intelligent man, love is not just emotion, it's awareness. He sees how attachment forms, how expectations corrupt purity, how even kindness hides motives. He sees that most relationships are built not on truth, but on a shared agreement to ignore it. And he can't participate in that lie anymore. Most people love to forget themselves. He loves to understand himself. And those two desires cannot coexist for long. He begins to realize something terrifying, that the more conscious he becomes, the fewer people can meet him there. His love doesn't fit into the modern rhythm of instant pleasure and constant validation. He doesn't play games. He doesn't chase. He doesn't manipulate attention. And in a world that confuses chaos with excitement, his steadiness feels like boredom. They call him detached. They say he lacks passion. But it's not absence of feeling, it's presence of control. He feels everything, but he no longer lets feelings drive him. And that kind of discipline is misread as coldness. Kierkegaard believed that most people fear silence because silence exposes who they really are. For the intelligent man, silence is sacred. It's where he thinks, regenerates, regains balance. But for many women, that same silence feels like emotional distance. They crave reassurance, words, presence, constant exchange. He, instead, craves stillness, a space where he can exist without performance. And so love begins to fracture, not from betrayal or conflict, but from difference in depth. She wants a rhythm, He wants meaning. She wants emotion. He wants truth. And those two worlds, though drawn to each other, rarely survive contact. He starts to pull back, not to punish, but to protect what's left of his peace. He stops arguing. He stops explaining. He realizes that understanding does not guarantee connection. He could explain everything, but few truly listen. And so he learns the wisdom of quiet detachment. He watches her frustration grow. She misses the passion he once gave so freely. But that passion was born from illusion, from believing love was eternal. Now he knows love is fragile, that people love until they no longer need you. Knowledge doesn't make him bitter, it makes him calm. And that calm, ironically, is what drives people away. Because calm cannot compete with chaos. It cannot thrill the unsteady heart. Kierkegaard wrote, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur so quietly as if it were nothing at all." And that is how most love dies. Not with betrayal, not with anger, but with quiet disconnection. The slow erosion of illusion by truth. The intelligent man watches this with painful awareness. He sees her pulling away, sees her eyes searching for novelty, sees her comparing him to the very noise he escaped. And he doesn't stop her. He knows that love built on misunderstanding is destined to end. He lets her leave, because he would rather face solitude than live in a lie. Then comes the transformation, the phase Kierkegaard described as the leap into selfhood. When a man accepts his aloneness not as a wound, but as a form of freedom. He stops chasing what can't meet him. He no longer explains his silence. He no longer apologizes for his calm. He understands that being misunderstood is the natural price of depth. His solitude becomes sacred. He begins to read, to write, to build. He pours his passion into creation instead of validation. He learns that purpose, not romance, is what sustains a man's soul. And once he tastes that peace, no superficial love can replace it. But here lies the irony. The moment he no longer needs love, love begins to seek him again. The same women who once called him cold now call him magnetic. The same silence they feared now feels like strength. Because nothing is more attractive than a man who no longer needs to be loved to feel whole. He becomes the rarest kind of man, one who is both gentle and untouchable. His energy says, "I want connection, but I do not depend on it." And that, in a world built on emotional dependence, is true power. He no longer sees love as salvation. He sees it as resonance. If it comes, it comes. If it leaves, it teaches. He doesn't cling. He doesn't chase. He simply observes and allows truth to guide him, not desire. Kierkegaard would say that this is not the death of love, but its purification. Love stripped of illusion, ego, and fear. Love that asks for nothing but truth. Most cannot handle it, but those who can never leave. So why do intelligent men lose women they love? Because intelligence removes the fantasy that love depends on. Because awareness exposes what ignorance protects. Because truth, though liberating, is too heavy for most hearts to carry. And yet, the intelligent man is not doomed. He is simply called to love differently, not through possession, but through presence. Not through illusion, but through understanding. Not through needing, but through being.
He becomes the man who no longer asks, "Who will love me?" but instead asks, "How deeply can I love without losing myself?" That is Kierkegaard's dark truth, and the intelligent man's quiet salvation.